Hello everyone, this is Mike G here for some King of the Monsters tweaks. I did have some gripes in the movie, and I actually wanted to touch back on this. Now that it seems kind of, been some time, and I won't get torn apart by people who love the movie. And that's not to say I didn't enjoy the movie. I did enjoy the movie, but I wanted to make it better, more epic. The trailer definitely got me off guard, and I really wanted to see all those kaiju, and we only got to see a little bit of them. And some of the kaiju fights were just short and kept cutting them away. So here's some tweaks that I wanted to add to King of the Monsters. Still an enjoyable movie, so don't tear me apart. I'm just gonna give you some ideas of what I wanted to add onto the movie to make it a little bit better. And if you agree with me, let me know in the comments. If not, give me a dislike and unsubscribe, whatever you need to do. So, number one, what I'd like to do is open with a very brief flashback of Ghidorah arriving on Earth, with maybe a small narrative intro about the people praying for their gods to defeat the Golden False King. Now, I think this could actually be a pretty decent intro as we see Ghidorah, arrive on Earth, maybe have some destruction follow him, and just maybe like 5-10 minutes of that. Not actually seeing Godzilla and Ghidorah fighting, maybe leading up to where he's about to face off to Godzilla, and then cut back, and we kind of fade into the prayers of the people and fade off into time, and then we come back to tweak number 2. Following the intro, perhaps show Mothra Egg hatching around the time Godzilla was fighting in San Francisco. Instead of killing off the son, they just have one child, and we have Emma and Madison both in China studying Mothra like in the movie, while Mark's character was instead at another base investigating infiltrating agents in Monarch trying to duplicate the Orca project. So in this version, I don't really necessarily want to have Vera Farmiga's character be the bad guy in this. She kind of lost her mind after losing her child. I didn't really like her whole character's reason and purpose, so which is leading us to tweak number 3. Change Vera Farmiga's character. Instead of betraying Monarch to being actually duressed, with them targeting Monarch family members, including her daughter and her husband. Now, as I said earlier, I didn't really like her purpose and reason for the reasons this chain of events kind of takes off, and it just didn't make sense to me. Seeing as she was the head of, one of the heads of Monarch, who pretty much recruited almost everyone that we saw there. That's one of the lines that they said in there. So it didn't make sense that she would do that. She could just do it within Monarch. It just didn't make sense what she was doing. Like, I think there could have been better ways to pull it off, but I think in this instance, we just take it all the way together and just have it so it's actually duress. I didn't really care for it. And then we'll move off into the next tweak, because this actually ties in with that. Definitely want more Jonah Alan as tweak number 4, setting off chain of events that lead up to giving his investors a chance to take over the chaos. Rather than just letting humans learn to cope with Titans, it would have made a better story, I think, for bigger powers to want to take over during the chaos against the Titans, unknowing the consequences of unleashing Ghidorah in the Antarctic. And then from here, Ghidorah gets out and unleashes hell on Earth, and you see all sorts of struggle around the world as all the Titans are rising and destroying everything. So let's move to tweak number 5. Show the fall of DC. That's right, Washington, D.C., with Ghidorah destroying the U.S. Air Force, Navy. Then instead of waking all Titans to attack human cities, instead to squabble amongst themselves around cities. To see conflict between the Titans deciding to follow Ghidorah or staying with Godzilla. Most of these monsters are waking up to this call, and it doesn't make much sense to me that they just get up and start attacking, the cities based on the calls of Ghidorah, who last they knew was buried in ice. Now, as we build up into the movie and we get to the climax, I kind of wanted to cut in before the climax of the movie, which would be the showdown of Ghidorah and Godzilla, the final showdown. So this takes place during the Rodan sequence. We have Rodan versus Ghidorah, and here's tweak number 6. Rodan versus Ghidorah was much too short. I would have ended it with both falling into the water and Ghidorah then getting the upper hand, and near the last minute, Godzilla pulled Ghidorah further in. Rodan would then make a break for the nearest land to recoup wounds. And then, after we see the oxygen bomb used on Ghidorah and Godzilla, we see the same as in the movie, Ghidorah pull off into land, but this time landing next to Rodan as Rodan's kind of wounded, and he witnesses Ghidorah heal, and then we cut out from there, and Ghidorah and Rodan be as is. And then Godzilla is weak, they try to help him as best they can, and this actually is going to lead into the next tweak here. Tweak number 7. Now, I wouldn't have blown up Godzilla's home. This way you can revisit in future films. I can only hope there's other locations to see that have ancient civilizations in the deep, hollow earth. Nuking Godzilla seemed a waste, in my opinion. I would have rather Serizawa sacrifice to save Godzilla from Ghidorah than to boost Godzilla with energy from a nuke. And that way, in the sacrifice of Serizawa, he actually buys Godzilla time. So this way, he'd be replacing Farmiga's sacrifice, and it would be Serizawa's sacrifice at the end of the movie there. And this leads into the next tweak number 8. With Serizawa's death, I think we can stop the death of Viviane Graham. I felt her death was pointless and had no real purpose to serve, and gives a less likable character more power to take her position. If we were to kill her, let it be from Jonah Alan. He is a bad guy at this point of the story, and I'd love to introduce new characters, followers of Jonah instead, that way. And throughout the movie, there was one thing that kind of bugged me a little bit, which leads us to tweak 9. Less raunchy humor. I've got some serious Shane Black's The Predator vibes, and at some of the strangest points. And the humor, I think, needed to be toned down, or needed to be a little more clever. The Connery joke just was not cutting it for me. I hated that. Such a terrible joke. I think the only humor that I enjoyed in that movie was Mark Russell's hate for the new guy stepping in. I don't even remember his name. I just didn't like him. But there was the scene where the ship is having problems with the hangar bay, and he goes, "All right, which way to the hangar bay?" And he stands up, says, I'll go. Oh, I know where it is." And he says, "Anyone else?" I think that was the only part I actually laughed at in the whole entire movie. And we'll move on to tweak number 10. Overall, less cutting back and forth between the humans during the fights. Do human dialogue and scene first, then follow up with all the kaiju action with at least maybe 3 quick cuts back to humans to progress any story elements, like looking for Madison and Emma, or another kaiju arriving, or maybe humans reporting that reinforcements won't be able to make it. Just quick, and then continue the fight. Don't put the fights in the background. It'd also be nice to do like a cut to Jonah Alan looking for Madison and Emma, and then go back and stay with the fight until the climax. The final tweak here I have for number 11 would be the end sequence. While a great shot, I think the cheesiness was just a bit too much. So here are my 2 options for the ending. The first one would be to keep the ending as is, but only remove Rodan and the Muto from the bowing scene. I know that was very controversial. I didn't really like how the Muto was back in it, and it made Rodan look like a pansy, and it just killed the character for me. I would have preferred it to just remove those 2 and have Rodan retreating from the scene, or even kill Rodan off. That would be fine with me. But we obviously can't kill Rodan, because Rodan should be able to get his own standalone, and this just wasn't working for me. And the second option for the ending scene would be just to remove all the Titans altogether, and just have Godzilla in that cinematic conclusion without any kaiju bowing, and still have the rotating cinematic panning. That was actually really neat, but you didn't need any kaiju there. And showing Rodan retreating rather than trying to sim to Godzilla would be much better in any case. But other than that, I didn't have too many problems with all the characters. There was actually a pretty decent cast. I definitely liked Ice Cube's son being in that. They were all likable, and there was some unlikable cast, and I think it's nice to have some unlikable cast. Although I think toning down the humor or writing would be better for most of the cast. Things I would love to see more would be like the back and forth between Chen and Rick. I think we could have had a little bit more there. Also for Mothra's intro, maybe add a little Titan to fight Mothra in larva form. Definitely a smaller kaiju. And side note, with the change from Mark's character not losing the child, we can still have it that he's on board, with Monarch to make sure the Orca project doesn't, get into the wrong hands, and that someone else isn't trying to recreate it. And make sure Kaiju don't destroy cities, and have him still dislike Godzilla. He just won't have the hate that Michael Dougherty wanted him to have for Godzilla in King of the Monsters. I just don't think it was necessary. If you guys watching are making a video about what you guys would change in the movies, please let me know in the comments and give me a link. I know not all of you will agree with all my tweaks, but this is, I think, a perfect movie for me. If you guys don't make videos, please just write your opinion in the comments instead. I'd love to hear the changes you guys have. Anywho, this is Mike G signing off. I'll catch you guys later.